Refugee and a homeless person, but I'm very sure that you reside in every Indian's heart. So if you give me permission, can we take a few questions from the audience?
Yes.
The first question that we have received is from Mr. Rajiv Sachdeva. And his question is, we always see all around us that people are suffering a lot. In view of this, how should one believe that God exists? If the answer to this is that it is all because of our karmas, then why all corrupt people are not suffering or getting their dues in the same life?
I think a different concept due to different philosophical views. Now, for example, theistic religion, you have the sort of concept of creator. Then non-theistic, no concept of creator. Everything, law of causality. So, I think a different answer. But actually, obviously, I think as far as Buddhist concept is concerned, problem, suffering, ultimate source is ignorance. So firstly, education is key factor. And I think existing modern education system, wonderful. But now here, if we include some moral teaching, as I mentioned earlier, based on secular, that can be fit in secular education field. That I think some sort of university professors and some scientists, now we already carry some sort of research work, these things, and also some experiment already going on. So, the existing modern education system very much oriented about material value. I think not adequate about education or the moral ethics. So, I usually call in education, we also include hygiene education about hygiene of physical. So similarly, hygiene of emotion should include strictly as a secular way, not talking about religious terms, religious things. That I think is possible. That I think, as I mentioned earlier, I think 7 billion human beings. The modern way of life is very much materialistic sort of culture, materialistic way of life. Unless you pay some attention about religious practice, there's not much talk about deeper human value. That, I think, one sort of causes there's a lot of problems, crisis, emotional crisis, or moral crisis. Sometimes I, quite frankly, telling my Indian friends, basically you are very religious-minded. But same religious-minded family, as far as corruption is concerned, not much concerned seriously. So that's a big contradiction. You accept God, you pray to God, you worship God, but your daily life, not much concern about justice, honest, truthful. So these, as I mentioned earlier, I think due to lack of conviction. That conviction must develop through education, through awareness. Truthful, honest, compassionate is best interest for yourself.
The next question is from Mr. Pankaj Goyal, and he wishes to ask, which is more important, morals or wisdom?
I feel one side, wisdom. The wisdom tell us you should be honest, you should be truthful, you should be compassionate. So proper wisdom teach us, show us importance of moral ethics. So I feel moral ethics through awareness of the value of moral ethics, not just order. So many religious people, they simply, you see, consider, oh, God teaches us. And then not voluntarily come. In order to develop voluntarily enthusiasm or determination, you must have the fuller knowledge, the value of these moral ethics. So, wisdom, I think, very, very important. Next question.
The next question is from Mr. Naresh Chachra. What comes first, success or happiness?
I don't know. Perhaps happiness there, all your work may be more successful. Too much worry, too much anger, I think your work cannot carry properly. So I think happiness means calm mind. I feel that way. Calm mind actually create a human brain which can judge right and wrong, short-term consequences, long-term consequences, all sort of good or bad, long-term, short-term, good and bad. These intelligence is analyzed. The animal, which their survival entirely depend on sensorial experiences. We human beings, because of this unique brain, we look long-term interest. So, in order to carry fully ability or potential of our brain, calm mind is very important. Once your mind, too much attachment, too much sort of anger, then your mind become biased. Through that way, your intelligence cannot function properly. So I think happiness there, calm mind come. Calm mind then create all your sort of visions become realistic. The realistic vision, realistic approach is the basis of success.
Thank you.
But I think you see, you yourself investigate through your own experience, your own sort of experiment. That's a better answer. Then you got best answer. I don't know. Yes.
The next question is from Mr. Alok Kumar, who wishes to ask, sorrow can never be separated from happiness. Sorrow is equally important and cannot be ignored. Why we discuss only happiness?
당 대화 니 냠도 조금 같이 통했어. 근데 대화도 조치에 같이 되고 대 동해면 대화도 못
Here I think the Buddhist concept, when Buddha teach Four Noble Truths, the first Noble Truth about suffering. There are 3 levels of suffering. Usually we call suffering of suffering, like physical pain or mental pain. These are suffering of suffering. Then another level of suffering is usually we consider the worldly life, supposed to say successful worldly life. That actually the suffering of change, the second level of suffering or deeper level of suffering. Then finally, because of suffering of duji.
So the third level is called the suffering of conditioning existence.
So when you refer suffering, I think mainly physical pains or mental pains, these things. Then I think now happiness here 2 levels. Again, just sensorial level pleasure. That kind of happiness is not very important. But important is much sort of less because of the suffering or because of the overcome suffering. That's happiness. That happiness is obviously, you see, we want. Even an animal, insects, you see, they feel physical pain, do not want. So every sentient being want to overcome that. So happiness is, of course, I think because of the more important. Otherwise, I always say, the very purpose of our life is happy life. Miserable life, unless one silly people do not know what's the problem, what's the sort of suffering, then maybe go that way. Otherwise, you see, any sensible, even animal, do not want suffering. So certainly, I think happiness is much important than suffering. Okay.
The next question is...
What? Not very clear. Question. Oh. No, not clarify the question. Actually, the concerned organization invited me to talk. Coming here, talking about these things, not my request, but they asked me. So then, basically, everybody, including insects, birds, everyone, want happy life, do not want suffering. And then we human beings, because of this human intelligence, a lot of unnecessary problems there. Physically, okay, but mentally unhappy. So worthwhile to discuss these things. If do not discuss these things, do not investigate these things, then human brain wasted. Recently, we have sort of meeting with scientists. So, on one occasion, I just expressed the human brain, something very unique, very marvelous brain. So, human brain now complaining us. Oh, my brain is something very yes, very sophisticated and a lot of potential. My brain cannot explain thoroughly on the experiment or investigation of mice brain. You know, rat, Murray. The scientists, you see, they experiment on mice or guinea pigs, and try to know mind. So human brain and guinea pig's brain, big differences. So human brain cannot explain thoroughly on the basis of experiment on animal brain, isn't it? So I just express, our human brain now complaining us. In order to know my ability, you cannot sort of know through animal experiment on animal brain. So if we go that way, if we too much relying on sensorial experiences, then this marvelous human brain is wasted. We have a lot of sort of ability. So therefore, I feel it's quite useful to discuss, exploring. Now many scientists, well-known, respected scientists, as a result of our discussion, and also they're facing in the society, modern society, some problem. So now a number of scientists really pay attention about the system of emotion. Without knowing the system of the emotion, very difficult to tackle. So I think, me personally, fully involved in these sort of research work. It is very, very important. Now I think we are 21st century, beginning of 21st century. I think as far as material development is concerned, technology is concerned, highly developed. But that now shows the whole world the technology or material development not giving us guarantee happy human society. A lot of problems there. So we have to, these problems, not a physical problem, but mental problem. So we have to discuss seriously what we are lacking, what should do, like that.
This is perhaps the last question that we would be able to take. How strong is the movement of Free Tibet? Within Tibet or outside Tibet, is there substantial support which will help the cause?
Now, this is a political question. As I mentioned earlier, I already retired from political responsibility. However, our